Welcome to the Simply for Life podcast. I'm Bethany, your host, a former diet and health nurse turned certified holistic nutritional consultant with over 16 years of experience in the health and wellness space. I'm here with Bruce Sweeney, Simply for Life founder and integrative nutritionist with over 30 years of expertise. Join us on the Simply for Life journey as we explore nutrition, hormonal balance, and well-being for a healthier, longer life. Welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thanks for having me. Good seeing you.
Yeah, lovely. I have a good topic for everybody today, and this is all about how to optimize your testosterone after 50.
Yes, it's unreal. Testosterone's getting a really good name. And now that it's understandably as important for men and women,
Yeah.
right? I think the sport community and the doping community kind of give it a bad name. But now, especially with everybody's in tune to aging gracefully, improving quality of life, having more vitality, testosterone is extremely important. And I'm happy we're having this dialogue today.
Yeah, so this is kind of where I see a lot of clients going in terms of what they're facing is they're kind of talking about more like low energy levels, reduced muscle mass, which you probably hear, sluggish metabolism, reduced libido as well, which can be associated with declining testosterone as or definitely
Yep.
as men age. So kind of my question to you is what do you've noticed is like the common signs of like a low testosterone level in like say an individual over 50, and we're probably specifically more talking about men here.
Yeah, and I'll say this without a niece. I've been working with people for testosterone for over 20 years now, both with synthetic and natural approach. The number one that most people are not aware is memory. It's absolutely amazing what it does for men and also women for memory. Foggy thinking, I cannot say enough. Everybody knows about the sex drive, libido, so forth, so on. Second, energy and mood. I think they go both rank. Like I have low energy, my mood, I'm not too sure if I'm getting to be bipolar, Bruce. I'm not too sure what's going on.
Yeah.
But a significant amount of people too, they don't realize, and it's too bad because I think it's misdiagnosed. They're depressed. They're
Ah,
just feeling like I don't have any zip to my step, but I just don't feel like doing nothing. Not a whole lot is motivating me. So they
okay.
have little bout of depression. It's not like 24-hour intense. They have little bout of depression and come and go and come and go. And this is a classic case. And because testosterone has such a bad name, testosterone, cardiovascular disease, it's absolutely critical for good heart health testosterone. But most of all, blood pressure. If you have
Mm,
high blood pressure, the importance of testosterone, because you and I, we both know that metabolic syndrome, and especially when it comes to abdominal fats and visceral fat, I can almost guarantee if you have the big belly fat, the hard fat, you have low testosterone, and we see high blood pressure. So
right.
meditating your testosterone, increasing it to what is a normal level, right? I think it's extremely, extremely important. We see a huge difference. And then, of course, the libido and sex drive, muscle mass, and your metabolic rate. Absolutely, yeah.
That's insane. It's just interesting to hear that because that sounds like a huge majority of the population with all of those issues, the high blood pressure, the and I definitely see women as well with that issue of like the weight around their middle as well, their hormones sort of changing. Um, Men and women both have testosterone levels, and obviously, as women age, the hormones change as well. So this is where we're sort of seeing the same with women, but definitely with men, it's kind of that muscular out of their arms are gone, and they're kind of getting more fat around their middle as well. So, how does testosterone naturally change as people age? Like, what really happens in the body as you kind of get into your 40s and 50s?
I think the what I'm saying right now is holding more true from the 70s, 80s, and 90s and up to 2000. As far as the change, we're seeing more decrease at the age of 40 by 1 to 3%, right?
Right.
Naturally decrease. That's just a process of aging gracefully, so forth, so on. But with our lifestyles right now, when they're starting to put statistics together, I think it's going to change, unfortunately. Exposure to plastic, eating too much sugar, poor sleep, stress, alcohol, right?
Right.
Uh, Gets your testosterone to decline at a much faster rate and then includes sedentary lifestyle, it's a recipe for disaster. I
Right.
mean, it tanks right now. Some expert, don't quote me on that, says that it tanks 5 times faster than it used to. So we're in
Wow.
trouble right now. So no
Yeah.
wonder that you have all these fountain of youth and testosterone therapy. But your body knows what to do naturally. We just got to basically kind of stop the floodgate of all these little things that tax your body to decrease testosterone. But at the age of 40, 1 to 3% declines every year. That's just the way she
Yeah.
goes.
I definitely have read that stat too. There's been some studies around that. And hopefully we can give people some information about how to increase that, because that is a
Bet.
big decline for a lot of men especially. And it made me think of, especially around like having the pandemic and everything, where everyone's sitting around, they're not going to the gym, they're not moving around,
Bingo.
drinking more sugar. Like definitely that's something I noticed, was people were filling up their grocery baskets with more junk food, sugary foods, not exercising. So that, like you said, is kind of that recipe for disaster of it going a lot faster than it should be.
And I think testosterone for both men and women, if you have low or issues with bioavailable testosterone, it's impossible to age well. And you're not going to age long. We know seen the studies, the correlation with people with low testosterone and life expectancy. It's shortened by 14 years by average. That's significant when we think about it. 14 years. That's
Wow.
huge.
That is big. So, in terms of like food, diet, let's start with that. Like, what kind of role does that really play in sort of maintaining like a healthy testosterone level for a guy?
I think the most important part, I mean, diet is vital. It's so important. We'll talk more specific about nutrients, but the number one thing I think that we need to do, because even if you don't have the optimal diet, just cutting out alcohol. Alcohol
Yeah.
blunts. If you want to have something that's going to blunt testosterone, matter of fact, some athletes will get drunk the day before doing testosterone tests, so it shows lower on their tests.
Oh,
Um, Alcohol suppress actually by 30 to 50% your testosterone production.
yeah.
Then next thing is sleep. Sleep is a killer. Poor sleep blunts your. So if you're getting drunk, staying up all night, you can almost defeat a testosterone test.
Right.
It will be that significant. Eating genetically modified, organic soy, different story, genetically modified soy product. Um, Oxidized polyunsaturated fat are poison. They will blunt your cortisol. And I'll put these group of food together. Same thing as refined carbohydrates. Too much sugar. We're not talking about fruits. And too much exposure to engineered, refined stuff, food in box, processed food. Because people are starting to recognize that stress increased cortisol level.
Mm-hmm.
But stress, it could be mental stress, but what they're just starting to understand is that certain food stress and tax the body. So it's the
Mm-hmm.
stress of the body and it's repeated every day. So that increased cortisol, higher cortisol blunts production of testosterone, right? So I think what we have to voice is, of course, cleaning is good for you. Having good form of healthy fats, saturated fats are very important for you. Good butter, lard, tallow, faster finish product, grass-fed beef, good form of carbohydrates. You combine, but I think the most important part is what that truly blunts your testosterone, and those keeps happening over and over. Sunshine, we don't talk about sunshine, so we are afraid of exposure to sunshine. Sunshine boosts testosterone, right? And look at everything we eat in plastic.
Right.
Plastic is an endocrine disruptors. We've known this. Now we have glyphosate in a way, pesticide, herbicide. Again, also they have their own mitigate effect on endocrine system, but they also tax the body to increase more cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to eliminate those food and lifestyle choice if you want to keep your testosterone. And sometimes even a client, I've seen that they're just not willing to change their lifestyle and they take synthetic testosterone. Their
Yeah.
dosage usually doesn't work at 100 milligram of testosterone cypionate per week. They usually have to take 150 to 200, double the dosage, to have the regular effect of optimal dosage of testosterone. And then they start having side effects, right?
Right. There's a lot of information in there that I just right away when I was trying to digest. A couple of things I want to talk on. So I definitely want to get back to the injections. I'm going to just make a note of that because we're going to talk about supplements and stuff later. But a couple of things in terms of the food. I do have a few clients between the age of 40 and 60, men that aren't drinking and have low testosterone levels. And they eat fairly healthy, like you were just explaining, in terms of the healthy fats, the salmons, things like that. And they exercise on a regular basis. Now, a lot of these clients I've noticed have high blood pressure, very stressful, demanding careers. Um, what else in terms of sort of advising to people would you suggest for men that are kind of already like trying to look after themselves? And one thing that came up for me was thinking about caffeine, coffee, what, like, how does that play a role? And the other one was like, which I find a lot of men do, is eating a lot of red meat. That's another thing. Like, where does that fit in terms of the testosterone levels?
Yeah, the carnivore diet does definitely, it must have been doing some good for the red meat industry. And sorry, carnivore people, I'm not attacking you,
Yeah.
but too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Too much iron, especially as we age in our 40, 50, it's actually bad for your cardiovascular system.
Okay.
But let's get back to the men that are eating fairly good, right? Assuming they're not eating a salmon that's farm raised, antibiotics and all.
Right.
Let's just assume they're eating a decent diet. Don't have
Yeah.
to be perfect. They're exercising. The minute I have somebody, a man, telling me that they're exercising and they have stress, I ask them, are you doing a lot of cardiovascular exercise? Are
Yeah.
you doing long durations? Because that, again, is a stressor and increase their cortisol level. And sure enough, second thing we tend to forget in our field is to ask the simple questions. I'm eating all those berries, Bruce. I'm eating good chicken, pastured chicken, but we eat like penguin. We eat so fast, we swallow our food 2 or 3 bites. We don't take time to sit
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and digest our food. And I feel like an hypocrite right now because this morning I was giving that suggestion to a client. And before, because I was telling you everything was going fast, I was eating it from my screen today.
Yeah.
So the nutritional value has plummeted even though I was eating organic food. So it's looking outside the bubble of nutrition, right? Same thing, men tend to have entrepreneur higher cortisol afternoon and at night when it should be going down. And some of them, because of their personality too, and they will go either the mentality sweat it off. I had a big day at work. I'm going to go give myself a 10K run, or I'm going to do a HIIT program. And actually, it makes it worse for them.
Right.
And it's not saying don't do the exercise. Keep doing exercise. You're a champion of this, but I like to suggest my man to exercise first thing in the morning, right?
Okay.
That's when you want to have the highest level of cortisol. And it's also naturally where we start producing testosterone too. So certain exercise. And if they have low testosterone or they're not getting the bioavailable testosterone too, right? It could be one thing, their sex hormone binding globulin, including women, is too high. So I suggest to have boron because it will lower it and it helps with the conversion. But before going to supplement, just to change to weight bearing exercise,
Yeah.
not more than 30 minutes, high intensity, or some sprints, that can make a shift within 2, 3 days. They feel it 2, 3
Right.
days. An injection doesn't do that,
Right.
right?
That was definitely my next question. So you kind of got already into that, was kind of the discussion of exercise on testosterone production. And I kind of knew you're going to go that direction because that's exactly where a lot of the clients sit, is they do a lot of cardiovascular and they do it at the end of the day. So like you said, it's kind of defeating the purpose and you want to utilize that. So kind of explain a little bit to these people about why weight bearing exercises are better kind of during the day, and how that would sort of help their testosterone versus in the evening. And like you said, it taxes and brings up their cortisol level.
Yeah, well, pound for pound, weight bearing is the best thing you can do for preserving muscle tissue. No ifs or buts. All the exercises are great. Listen, I'm not putting any from yoga to swimming, but it gives the right amount of stress stimulus your body needs. Not only that, it has many ability to stimulate your HPA axis, your
Mm-hmm.
hypothalamic pituitary, because everybody talks about the testosterone. You want to have exercise that stimulate luteinizing hormone to talk to your testes to produce testosterone. It's
Okay.
not just about going to your testes and trying to stimulate your testes. So the HPA axis is very important. But also, let's get back to, you can run at night and you might be one of those that doesn't affect them. But if you do a lot of cardio, it just happens you have high cortisol. And on top of that, you're high stress demanding, you have kids and it goes 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Well, then you also have an aromatized issue and a conversion of testosterone for men to more estrogen.
Hmm.
Therefore, their mood, how they're feeling, their energy goes up and down, up and down. But to your question, first of all, for your whole metabolism, weight bearing trumps everything.
Right.
How you metabolize food, how you digest food, um, the process of converting fatty acids and sugar, or how your liver responds to navigate your hormones. Liver is not just for detoxification.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing comes as close to weight bearing. And of course, I've been doing weight bearing exercise all my life, but I do a little bit of everything also. So I think that as we age, to come back to the first original questions, after the age of 45, weight bearing should become part of your lifestyle, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Because whether you like it or not, sorry to be mean, we all want the same thing. We want more time on this planet to feel better. Um, we want to be active. We want to be feeling our best every day. That's what we want. We strive for the same thing. And unfortunately, the research is not showing it with long distance running. The research is not showing it with swimming. And I got to be clear on this. Don't stop running. It's good for you. Swimming, it's
Right.
good. But I'm showing with all the tons of research we're saying, and then the create output, nothing does it better than weight bearing or weightlifting, short duration. We're not talking 2 hours workout
Right.
either way.
Yeah. So it's not a long period of time. It's literally start with 15, 20 minutes and go into probably half an hour or so. What about other lifestyle factors? So I know you mentioned this earlier, just in terms of like plastics and stuff, and like the food industry has totally changed to genetically modified foods. What other kind of lifestyle factors are really sort of hindering, I guess, men producing this testosterone, or maybe something that can help boost testosterone just in terms of lifestyle?
Yes. Well, trying to eat as organic as you can afford.
Yeah.
Choose the Dirty Dozen from the Environmental Working Group. That's a good foundation because these are the fruits and vegetables that has the highest amount of pesticide, herbicide, fungicide. We've been saying this now for over 50 years.
Right.
And the last 30 years, we know that they have an exact negative impact on our endocrine system, the whole endocrine, not just testosterone, but it does
Right.
have an impact on testosterone. We're seeing young men now having higher estrogen level. We're seeing young men having women's breasts, so to speak, right? We call it gyno. Avoid plastic like there's no tomorrow. Now you can still use plastic container, but don't put acidic food like pasta sauce into it because it will leach. We're getting out of the era of BPA, but in Canada we only test for about 60 chemicals, and we use over 3,100 chemicals in Canada.
Yes.
So we don't know yet. Don't cook or heat with microwave. Avoid plastic bottled water as much as you can. And guys, guess what? I do drink plastic water every blue moon. I'm a human, but the bulk of my water, it's always in a mason jar, right? And I try to really be diligent on my water. Wash your fruits and vegetables when you get home. You know, I just put a post this morning, and I don't have access to people to this certain big box store. I'm not going to name it, but I want to know what kind of compound they're spraying their fresh product section. Are
Mm,
they using chloride, or there's certain type of acid they use that to keep the food fresh, so forth, so on. That has a direct impact on our testosterone level. Sugar, I cannot say.
Yeah.
And to go back with coffee, hey, have coffee. Good coffee is good for you, but too much of a good thing. Again, if we're always stimulating
Right.
ourselves, then it raised cortisol. But the top two I would have to say is that weekend drinking. Oh, Bruce, I just drink on weekend. Let's be honest. It interferes with your sleep. These two will have an impact. A lot of people think because they have a good meal, and I'm sure you deal, not to judge, they have a good meal, they think they get away with the rest of the crap for the day, right? I have one
Yeah.
good meal, I'm good, it will balance. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But when you drink on a Friday night and you had 2 glasses of wine, right? I
Yeah.
only have 2 glasses of wine, Bruce. And I just nibble a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That has an impact on your testosterone for 5 days.
Yikes. It's a long
One,
time.
5. I don't make those rules.
Yeah.
I don't try to influence your own biology, but those are facts right now. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to not be able to perform on Tuesday or Wednesday, but it means to bring it back to where you were on that Thursday.
Right.
It can take 5 days, and then include poor eating habits, stress, um, toxic surrounding with friends or coworker or business partners, right?
Yeah.
All that is a perfect recipe for a disaster, to have extremely fast declining of testosterone level.
Right. So, in terms of that, you mentioned sleep as well. How does that really impact? Like when you say sleep, are you talking about sort of the 7 to 8 hours or restful sleep, or in general, is it just stress before you go to sleep? Like, is what's kind of impacting the testosterone levels with that?
It's crazy, Bethany. The simple tool of unplugging from blue rays an hour before, not eating 3 hours before going to bed. These are simple rules. But sleep, when we talk of sleep, we want to set the environment, first of all, in the cold room, dark room, not exposure to electromagnetic field or phone around us. The sleep we're looking for is not the duration, it's restorative sleep, deep quality sleep. That's what we need. Now, some will say they sleep only 6.5 hours. Good, you feel restored, that's great. Some will tell you that they sleep 10.5 hours. There's a problem with that. Every now and then it's
Yeah.
normal, but there's a problem with that. If you're waking and tossing around, right? Body's down trying to tell something, and definitely will have an impact on the production of testosterone in the morning and
Right.
cortisol also.
Yeah, it definitely affects the cortisol levels. I can definitely see that with the clients. In terms of the last thing I was going to ask, in terms of the supplements, you brought up the test because that was something I was thinking about too. The testosterone injections that men would be using as well. So let's sort of talk around that. Like, what's a better solution than sort of injecting yourself with hormones instead? Something that would be able to sort of naturally help men. I heard you talk about basically vitamin D, all that stuff. So I kind of wanted to hear from you
Yeah,
what.
vitamin D is one of them. It's hit and miss. I mean, if you have low vitamin D, sometimes you feel better and enhance your mood and will have an impact on your testosterone. But B complex, because the majority of time my men that I deal with uh, have high cortisol, so it's a champion at reducing your cortisol.
Right.
Zinc, I cannot say enough. Zinc is good to increase your luteinizing hormone, helps your testes release more testosterone. I suggest about 50 milligram of zinc for about three
Okay.
months. And women also will benefit from zinc. Now, there's a little bit of evidence, but we've seen it many times. Women using zinc, not just for testosterone, but more, they're coming for the symptoms. Women are much more in tune with their symptoms. And I think that's why we have so much amazing discovery, because women are asking the right questions,
Right.
right? Men
Yeah.
tend to come when they're a little bit too
Wait.
late. Like, shit, I got a
Yeah.
big package here to work with.
Yeah.
But the reality with women, why I like zinc is also help with PCOS, right?
Okay.
So there's other tools, and um, I'm not going to pull out of it, but you have one of it that's your favorite for PCOS when you're dealing with this. But zinc, when it comes to testosterone and so forth, so on. But I have to say, my clear favorable, and I think I'm going to stick to it, is Tonga Ali. Hands down a champion for both men and women.
Okay.
Um, And let's get back to zinc. Zinc also can act a little bit for women as an adaptogen. So if it's too high, too low, it has its merit, but it shows very little increase in testosterone. It's more for men. But Tonga Ali has an impact on both men and women. And why I like Tonga Ali is because as doing injectable testosterone, it usually takes about 8 to 12 weeks to start feeling effect. And
Right.
then you have to be close with your doctor or an integrative endocrinologist who can adjust your dosage. Maybe you'll have issue with your hematocrit. You have to donate blood. It gets complicated.
Yeah.
Tonga Ali does none of that. It also, what testosterone won't do injection, helps to mediate your level of cortisol throughout the day.
Okay.
It also helps with your thyroid function. It has many other benefits that it does than just testosterone, but where we see is that it has an impact on mood, depression, libido does increase, erectile dysfunction for men, that's another one too. Now, if you have cardiovascular disease, blocked arteries, so forth, so on, you can take whatever you want. You have any issues with vascular disease. But if I'm talking to bulk up a man, it just gives them their zing, the mood, and most of all, the number one I was saying for both men and women, after 8 to 12 weeks, is their memory and feeling less
Right.
foggy. I
So
think that trumps over their libido.
so the Tonga ally that you're talking about, because I've heard you talk about this quite a lot, does it act like an adaptogen in the body?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? Because if you miss those 200 milligram of testosterone, it can happen, right?
Right.
Well, this is not adaptogen. It will increase your testosterone. Then you start holding more water. It can. That's when testosterone can start making you increase your blood pressure. That's when it can have a different effect on your mood. While if you're taking Tonga Ali or low dose testosterone, benefit on your mood, all the benefits we're reading about, you're feeling it. And the beauty about Tonga Ali is that you can stop it anytime and you're not going to have withdrawals.
Okay.
You can start it back because I love this because this is kind helps me to reset my man to motivate enough. Say, listen,
Right.
I don't want you to be using Tongat Ali for the rest of your life. You can if you want to,
Right.
but wouldn't it make sense now that you're feeling good, you're here? We adjust your lifestyle, your
Right.
exercise, your sleep. And by the way, that 24 beer on the weekend just doesn't cut it, right? We have to manage your alcohol over the weekend. They're much more motivated because they have a taste of what it takes to
Right.
feel good.
That's a good one to hear. And in terms of that one, what about men that have blood pressure issues or cardiovascular? Like, how does that work? Like, is there anything
Yeah, I'm a big
contradictory?
fan on Tangali if you have blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. That's why I use it myself. I don't have blood pressure issues, but cardiovascular disease because I've seen it many times reduce blood pressure faster than we know blood pressure. It's not correlated with sodium, it's more correlated with sugar and lifestyle and poor sleep and stress because Tangali again reduce cortisol level.
Yeah, that's a good one. I really like kind of that one. I know you've talked about it quite a bit. I know you mentioned the other one in the beginning was boron. How does that play a role?
Well, boron, because you get your sex hormone binding globulin. Binding, it binds to your sex hormone. So you could have total high testosterone, but your bioavailable is just low. So we want to basically release and make it more free, more bioavailable.
Okay.
And boron does that because your liver is what produces sex hormone binding globulin. And boron has a direct impact on your liver to release less sex hormone binding globulin. That's first phase. But most of the times when you have high sex hormone binding globulin, again, Bethany, sleep, lifestyle, food,
Right.
exercise, right? Those supplements work, but they're just a patch.
Right.
But they're a great patch for giving my clients the ability to feel good. Now
Right.
you have something to negotiate with. I not too long ago I shared this with my friends, and I was asked to approach one of our family member to talk about doing lifestyle change, right? And I don't like to do this because it's none of my business unless they approach me. But
Right.
how can I sell a family member who's young in their 30s
Yeah.
to tell them they're going to feel better? They don't know what it is. It's their new normal. Now,
Right.
for you, if you would get out of control, let's just say gain weight, and 2 years from now I meet you and I start talking to you about eating healthy and exercising and sleeping, you'll feel so much better. I can sell you that because you know what it is to feel good.
Right.
It's a very hard sell when somebody have never tasted. So that's why I like Tonga Ali, because a the men, they tell me they want to use it because they want to cruise their lifestyle. No, okay, guys, sorry, you want to increase your testosterone. You think you're going to have a libido like when you were 16, and it's not going to happen.
Right.
But it does have. But just that is enough for me to carry on conversation about lifestyle.
Right. Yeah, it's the selling feature.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was great. So thank you, Bruce, basically for all the
Welcome.
information on the testosterone today. I think I've learned a lot too, which is great. And I think I always need that. So I'll put the links all for everything to the supplement store. Both of our stuff will be in the show notes for everybody. Don't forget to share this episode with family and friends, everybody, and stay tuned for more on the Simply for Life journey and good health, everybody.
Happy, thanks. And thanks for following, everybody.